As the 2016 season gets set to kick off, change is in the air for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Gone are the leaders of the past 3 years. The superstars. And the miracle makers. But the most important Razorback of them all is back.
Those are places, in my opinion, you can build a dynasty, you can build a way of living, you can call it home. That's really what attracted me on the outside as I started looking at it to Arkansas.
It's year 4 of the Brett Bielema era. Hired to fix a proud program that had hit hard times, he's done that and more with steadily improving results on and off the field. This season, he leads a team of talented but untested Hogs. A team, he says, that's earned his trust.
I know this team better than I've known any roster of players that I've had here at Arkansas to this point. You know, it's going into my 4th year. I know their stories. I know who they are. I know what they've championed. I know what they've failed at.
Their goal? To face down one of the nation's toughest schedules, win an SEC championship, and join the elite in the college football playoff. The road won't be easy, but expectations are high. It's year 4, and Hog fans are expecting more.
Live from the campus of the University of Arkansas, it's Year 4, Wanting More. Now your hosts, Chris Kane, David Basil, and Chris May.
And this is where it all begins tomorrow in Fayetteville, Arkansas, Reynolds Razorback Stadium. The Arkansas Razorbacks kicking off the 2016 football season against the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. I am Chris May, along with 2 guys who I know are very excited for this season to get started. Of course, Razorback great David Basil and my colleague at KATV, Chris Kane. Is there anywhere else you guys would rather be right now?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, my gosh, who would have thought we'd have this weather at the beginning of September? Oh, my gosh, it's perfect.
Yeah. Not sweating in the sun right now. Right. That's something you don't see this time of the year.
It could not be nicer. This team coming off an 8-5 season, 5-3 in the SEC, winning 6 of their last 7 games. But Baz, this is a different team that starts this season.
You know what, though? But Chris has said before, you know, we could have no returning starters, and Brett Bielema would get you excited about his team. He's that kind of salesman. But again, you come off of last year, 2 consecutive bowl wins. That streak last year at the end of the year with Brandon Allen, it made you feel comfortable and confident about what Brett Bielema is doing with this program. You hear him say the right things, and I would say fans would say right now, if I could pick anybody else in this league as my coach, other than Nick Saban, I think they might say Brett Bielema. I think if he just keeps winning, I think he is really climbing the ladder as far as significant coaches in this league.
You know, just because you have different talent doesn't mean that this is a different identity for this team.
No question. And in fact, as identity, there's another Allen at quarterback over there just with a different number and a different first name. I think you're going to see a team that sticks with the same philosophy that Brett Bielema has instilled in this program, and that is being physical. They weren't that way early last year, as Baz alluded to in the 6 o'clock newscast. They figured out that's our identity. We're not going to change from it. And how about this? He's one of a few coaches in this league to come back with the same 2 coordinators on offense and defense. I think that will go a long, long way for those coming in as new starters.
You asked your Twitter followers today what their expectations were. What did you hear from them? And then let's talk about what we think expectations are for this team that are fair.
I gave them 4 options, 0-5, or 0-5, like 0 to 5 wins. No one picked that, by the way, at least yet.
Never.
Then I also said 6-7. 8 to 10 or 11 or more. No one picked 11 or more. Surprisingly, though, more fans out of the 100 votes we got leading up to this show, more fans picked 8 to 10. The optimism running high. Will they pick the same thing after the first game? We could run that poll again and wait and see.
What do you think is fair for expectations?
Well, again, I think every fan wants to see a continuation of progress. You win 8 last year, you go 5-3 in the West. They want another win. They want 9. I think you go any below 7. If you go below 8, not good enough. Got to hit 8 at least.
Chris mentioned Brandon Allen. He is gone, of course. He's been the starter the past 3 years. He's with the Jacksonville Jaguars. But into that spot steps his brother, Austin Allen.
You know, we need to remember Austin Allen it comes from a football family. He won 2 state championships here in Fayetteville. He is the most prepared quarterback who's never started a game. He's been here 3 years. He knows this offense back and forth. So all he just needs is some starts. I think he's going to have a great year if they can block for him. That's the key. Can they protect him? Can they run the ball as well?
He did admit the other day he's nervous for his first start.
Well, I want that from him. I don't want a guy to not be nervous because that means he's crazy. This means he's a human being. He's coming into this game knowing the expectations of this team. He knows what it's like to be not just a player but a fan. He grew up here in Fayetteville. His dad's been here a long time. He watched his brother go through a lot of trials and tribulations and then had some success, and he knows he has to continue that on. He did that whenever his brother was not able to win a state championship in high school. He went on to win 2 after that. Haven't won an SEC championship. Maybe can go on to do so in the next couple of years.
He has been in the meeting room all the these years. He's been on the sideline. He knows the atmosphere of a big-time college game, but he hasn't been on the field and faced adversity or taken that big hit. How steep do you think the learning curve is going to be for him right off the bat?
You know, Baz mentioned how long he's been on campus, 3 years. That's a long time to just sit and wait and sit and wait. You better believe it. He's been hit before, maybe in practice, but he's been hit. He knows how the college football game works. He's seen how the game day preparations are. So I'm not worried about him coming out there. In fact, if you just know his personality, he's got a lot more confidence than most people think for a newcomer at quarterback. He won 2 state titles. He certainly has it. Baz, I know you've seen it too.
And it's not Austin Allen. I'm telling you guys, it's not Austin Allen. I'm not worried about him at all. It's can they block for Austin Allen? You know, Brandon Allen had a great offensive line. You lose 3 guys who are playing on Sunday right now. So the question is, can they fill those 3 positions and block for him like they blocked for Brandon Allen?
Well, if they don't have to lean on Austin Allen right away, they will lean on the Razorback rushing attack, which has been their bread and butter for the past 3 years. A lot of new faces. Let's take a look at some of them right now. The Razorbacks ground game will be led by 2 guys who've been there before. Last year's promising true freshman, Raleigh Williams III, and Cody Walker, the often injured 6th-year back. He's down 25 pounds from last season and feeling like a new man.
I've been through a lot, you know, my 6 years here, but I just think it's made me so much stronger, so much better, and mentally too, you know, to go through all those injuries and still come back and be in the shape that I am, I feel great about it.
While Walker brings size and experience to the Hogs' backfield, Williams brings the sizzle. He showed flashes of brilliance in 2015, averaging 4.5 yards per carry, until the Auburn game and the neck injury that ended his season and threatened his career. Now, number 22 says he's healthy. His coaches say he can handle a big load.
The fact that I've gotten stronger is definitely a confidence booster. You know, it didn't really hold me back in terms of my athleticism and my strength, so it's just a blessing to be able to improve even after everything that's happened to me.
He doesn't need football to validate him. He's playing because he loves the game, and I think since that injury, he's taken a different approach in life and things, but he's handled it really well.
One certainty with any Brett Bielema coach team, there will be plenty of carries to go around. Some will go to quarterback turned receiver turned running back Damon Mitchell, and perhaps even more to 2 prized recruits. A 4-star back out of Beaumont, Texas, Devwa Whaley has made a big impression in Fayetteville. His coaches call him humble, coachable, and a good teammate. Even as a freshman, his natural skills stand out on the practice field, though in his mind, he's just getting started.
Coming in from high school, you know, just having to learn the playbook and learn the offense and just get it down and continue to work hard.
Whaley's fellow freshman and roommate is TJ Hammonds, a shifty speedster out of Joe T. Robinson High School. He's been slowed this fall by a minor knee surgery, but he plans to be ready whenever his number's called.
In the SEC, you need a lot of running backs, you know. You just can't have one running back, you know, because that one will get beat up.
I don't think there will ever be a case where we'll have a guy that rushed the ball for 40 times in a game, so we're going to do it by committee.
It's a formula that's worked for Bielema, who's had at least 1,000-yard rusher every year he's been a head coach. How many will he have this year? The answer will determine just how far this team of Razorbacks will go. Okay, so let me ask you both. Is there a 1,000-yard rusher or maybe more than one on this roster?
I love that you asked how many. With the Brett Bielema team,
you don't know.
You can ask how many with that kind of style of offense. Cody Walker's a guy that's an interesting prospect because he's so big and so physical. He's in his 6th year, y'all. I mean, that is something that you don't see too often in all of college football. So I think if he stays healthy, has a chance to break that 1,000-yard. He can at least be a double-digit touchdown guy just the goal line situations alone.
I'm not worried about the running backs. We saw Fournette last year against Alabama and Arkansas. You don't block for him, you can't run. You know, it doesn't matter if you're Superman. So they've got to block for these guys up front.
Okay, we'll take a break. When we come back, Channel 7 Sports Director Steve Sullivan sits down with the head coach Brett Bielema for a revealing interview that you do not want to miss. It's year 4 and wanting more right here on KATV. Brett Bielema, and it seems like everyone from the athletic department to the fans on board with this coach. There are a lot of coaches in the SEC on the hot seat. Brett Bielema not one of them best.
Well, this is a big business. They pay coaches a lot of money, and he's a great guy. We all love him, but he's got to win.
Yeah, he's made a big impression.
Well,
so
no
far.
question, and he has been afforded with this type of success every single year, a little more patience, something you don't see in the SEC anywhere else. But here I think you might get a couple more years to turn things around because he took over a situation that was not easy.
Indeed, he did. Channel 7 Sports Director Steve Sullivan sat down with the head coach to take his temperature as the season nears.
Hey, first of all, we talk about the players' grind. Talk about your grind as a coach. You mentioned the other day you start at 6:30 in the morning. Give us an idea of what your average day is like closing on the season.
Well, when the season gets here, it actually gets a little bit easier. During camp, a lot of times you're in there 5:30 in the morning. Our staff meets at 7, and there's not no meetings till 9:30 or 10. So those are the grind for their month. But once school starts, we typically have staff meetings at 7 in the morning and get out of there typically 10 to 11 at night. So a lot of hours, but they're also fun hours. The best part is to get out in practice field. The days when you don't practice, the day kind of grinds. But it's what you love to do. I truly do believe that.
Hard to believe the redshirt juniors and the seniors are going to be part of your first class. I remember going back and we thought how important that class would be. And they were rated okay, 9th in the SEC. But you look back and you knocked it out of the park. Alex Collins, Hunter Henry, Denver Kirkland, Drew Morgan, Brooks Ellis, Austin Allen, DJ Dean. Well, that class is so important.
One of the things that I've always done as a head coach is you sit back, usually after their first camp. And so you've had them for 3 weeks. You kind of understand who they are, what they are. You're going to develop them in a certain way, but there has to be a core value of, A, are they coachable? What kind of talent do they truly have? What do you have to work with? And I remember sitting back after that first camp and saying, regardless of how we're going to be this year, these guys were all hits. I mean, we knew they were going to be players. Would have loved to have a couple of those first 3 back. If we had Alex, Hunter, and Denver back, we'd be a different team right now. But I really like the way our guys have progressed. This freshman class that we just brought in, we went through the roster yesterday and decided who we were going to play and redshirt, and the same thing. We've really, of the 21 or 22 guys that we signed, we thought they were all hits. So hopefully we'll keep that going.
I'll talk about the scars from that. It's a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
You had back-to-back weeks. We lost 52-7 and 52-0. Then you jump ahead a couple of years. You go 5-3 with the same players, close to 7-1. Talk about that journey and turning it around so quickly. Not only just the wins, but the grade point, the vibe in the locker room. It's been a complete culture change.
It has. I think one of the things you look for when you're getting beat 52-0 and so forth, what are some indicators that the tide is turning? Because it's not going to be out in public yet, but it was the culture of the locker room. Having kids do things right, not showing up on headlines for the wrong reasons. The GPA, I stressed from day one, hey, I've seen so many times where academic success breeds athletic success, and I think that's very, very true with the player we recruit. I don't think that always works out the way you want, but if you get kids that care, it's a different story. So that's been a big indicator. The least penalized team in the SEC, just being able to stay competitive in certain games. That first year to come out of LSU and know that we could have won it, but we didn't, I think probably is a spurn to why it happened the last couple of years the way it has. Guys understand why they can win, and I appreciate you saying, could have been on the threshold of 7-1, but it was a 5-3 record that we weren't able to close it out. And you know what? Those 5 wins, there were a couple that could have went the other way as well. So I think that's the progress that our guys are making, and hopefully this year can be one we get over the hump.
You're pretty good at pointing out indicators of success. And one you mentioned Friday during your speech up at the kickoff luncheon was you have veteran leaders at each position. I think it's easy to lead by example if you're the best guy in the room. But someone like Cody Walker, he may be 3rd on the list right now. What does he bring to the running back room, and how much do you appreciate a guy like that and his journey?
We do give our guys an opportunity to address the football team in our evening meetings. I'll set aside a half hour 4 or 5 times during fall camp. And Cody stood in front of the room and told his journey. And obviously the seniors know it, but no one really knew it the way that he told it. And for that guy to stand up and put his heart out there, and he wasn't looking for sympathy, he wasn't looking for anybody to pat him on the back or hug him. He was looking to show us an example of what you can persevere. And when a guy like that is standing there and he represents all the right things, the first thing he talked about was respect. He said he hears a quote all the time, you got to earn respect. He said, I was actually raised in an environment where you respect everyone. And I thought that was a very unique perspective, that here's a guy that is upheld in everyone's eyes as a team leader, and he's talking about how you give people respect even if you don't know them. You know, respect your teammates, but respect the people you go to class with. Respect your teachers, your professors, your people that you deal with on a daily basis. But then I also went around and I pointed out at every position, you know, you got 4 senior wide receivers. You got Jeremy Sprinkle. On offense, you got Dan Skipper in the offensive line. On defense, you got 3 senior defensive linemen, Tywan Johnson, Jeremiah Ledbetter, Dietrich Wise. On the linebackers, have Brooks Ellis. And in the back end, they have Jared Collins. Just guys at every position that embody and embolize everything that I want a player to be.
Just a few words about a couple of players.
Yeah.
First thing that comes to your mind, Austin Allen.
It's time.
Drew Morgan.
He will bring the juice on a daily basis.
Raleigh Williams.
Overcame and probably at a level right now that is better than he's ever been.
And defensively, one of my favorites, and his mom Vicky wants it pronounced Liddell, Josh Liddell.
Josh Liddell is a shining example of what Arkansas is. We offered him maybe a week before signing date. Is going to go out of our program as a 3 or 4 year starter. We'll have a chance to go beyond here as a football player, and all that on top of having a great GPA and a great background.
Jared Collins.
Perseverance as well. A guy that has had some issues. Fainted in one game. I think it was over here in Little Rock. All of a sudden I turned around. He's laying on the ground. Nobody knew what was going on.
You mentioned he broke his hand.
Broke his hand. Didn't miss a beat. 3.8, 3.9 GPA. Success is going to be his future, whatever he decides.
And Sosa Agim.
Sosa, probably one of the true freshmen that'll play. Very, very talented, but also a very driven young man.
I have to ask you about being Brett Bielema. That's the one show my wife, sports show, she'll watch, and her biggest takeaway the other day was Jen's diamond on the ring, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's given you, I think, I think an average sports fan wants to see more than just what they see at a press conference. Yeah. And you get to see you with Jen, with your dogs, at a concert with Coach Anderson, with Justin Moore, out fishing. I mean, what kind of reaction are you getting? And your thought going in, obviously you're going to get into rooms and get to people like my wife that you normally wouldn't get to.
Right.
What's it been like so
we started
far?
off with a small series. It was just kind of on the internet, and then ESPN contacted Bo and said, hey, would you be interested in doing some new material? So we had to come up with 4 half-hour segments, so that was a little bit of filming, but it's really hit everything. From a recruiting standpoint, we have a young man that was committed to a rival school that called us the other day and said his mom and dad watched it, and we said, hey, we should take a further look at Arkansas, and is going to come on a visit. So that's the main reason I did it. That was a driving force. But I think also the people involved in the beginning stages wanted people to see who I was away from the game. You know, it's not a quote here or there that I've made somebody mad. They wanted to see the total person, and that's what we try to give them. You know, even like my wife's ring, I designed that ring. I drew that on a piece of paper, called a jeweler, and had him design it. You know, so a lot of people are like, and then when they find out how much I was involved in it, it's kind of just another added part of, I like to do things beyond football, you know, but I love the game, and if this promotes Arkansas football, really the state of Arkansas, in the right way, then the mission's accomplished.
Different things will take away. My biggest takeaway was your relationship with Justin Moore. You know, Arkansas's favorite odd couple, but in many ways, just in the look, but in many ways, you're a lot alike.
Yeah, well, he was here last year at this event.
Yeah, I remember that.
His schedule couldn't be here today. He just is a true blue guy. I met him because I was a head coach at Arkansas, but since that time, probably one of the guys from the outside football world that I correspond with all the time. He's a true success story, kind of like us. You know, he's a blue-collar guy that worked his way up through Nashville. I think he was selling meats like at one point out of a back of a truck. His wife was supporting him, and now he's building a monstrosity just outside of town here that symbolizes how much success he's had. But yeah, that's a lot of fun, and I don't know if a lot of people have that type of relationship that you can go to.
Great stuff. When I think of Bielema, one word comes to mind, and that's consistent. He seems to be so consistent in his approach to football.
Yeah, he doesn't take anything back. You know, he says a lot. He said, yeah, you know, I say some things, and I'm not afraid to speak my mind. And I like that he's consistent enough to not backtrack on anything, and he is a true believer in what he talks about.
Yeah, as a player, that's got to mean a lot.
It does, and I think the other word is accommodating. I don't know if I've ever seen a major college coach accommodate everybody, media, fans. He never turns down anybody. He's a genuine guy, gets emotional, doesn't mind wearing his emotion on his sleeves. And so He's just a great guy. Even if he wasn't a football coach, I think he'd be the kind of guy you'd like to hang out with.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We're going to take a break right now, and as we go to break, we'll show you the Arkansas Spirit Squad. They have just arrived here on campus along with Tusk 4. A pep rally is about to get underway at the Chi Omega Greek Theater here at the University of Arkansas as we prepare for tomorrow's big kickoff, the Razorbacks and the Bulldogs of Louisiana Tech. We'll be right back. With this new season of Razorback football, we are kicking off our 17th season with Bruce James and David Basil. Here they are assessing Arkansas football as only they can.
It's hard to believe it's year 17 for Bruce and Baz. Glad to have you guys here.
You know, if Bruce,
you look great.
If Bruce and Baz and Sportsweek had a kid, he'd be a senior in high school this year. How about that? Wow.
And let me thank both of y'all because, you know, never in a million years did I think I would be out here doing this for 17 years.
So. Hard to believe it's year 4 for Coach B. If you had to grade him, not just on what he's done on the field, but recruiting, dealing with fans, a total grade for 4 years. What are you giving Coach B?
I think he's a solid B, Sully. You think of where he started. I think we have to remember it was bad. It was bad. Talent-wise, just morale, everything. He comes in. We'll just look at this past year. He goes 5-3 in the West. He wins at Tennessee, wins at LSU, wins at Ole Miss, goes to a bowl game. First coach ever to win back-to-back bowl games at Arkansas. 40 kids on the all-academic team, #1 in the SEC. He's recruiting good kids. I think he's headed the right direction.
It's not fair. You said I have to go. I mean, come on. Yeah, I mean, yes, solid B positively. The thing I noticed about him very early on, even when he was losing 52-0, his football players kept playing. You mentioned the academics, but what about off-field? We had off-field problems. He's turned that around. You look at everything about where it is now versus before he came here, and I'm just fascinated that he's been able to do it. I give him a solid B also.
Last year, SEC play. 5 games decided by less than 7 points, 3 in overtime. Everyone in the West has good players. They have good coaches. They have good facilities. Are we living in a world now for the next 4 or 5 seasons where it's going to be week to week, a special teams mistake, a play at the end of the game is going to decide these games?
So that's a great point, Bruce. I agree. I mean, the talent is so even. The coaching is so even. Somebody's got to lose. Some good coach has to lose, and I think it will be that way.
Attempted field goals in overtime, things of that nature. Yes, it's going to be like that every week in the SEC West.
Let's point out, too, we're not beating out LSU and Alabama and Ole Miss for 5 stars, but we've beaten LSU and Ole Miss the last 2 years in a row. So he's making the most of the players he's getting.
All right, fair or not, all eyes are going to be on Austin Allen. He can learn from his brother. Brandon Allen, at times, took an unfair beating early in his career.
I think this is the most experienced player as a backup who's never really started a game. I mean, think of the knowledge that he's been able to see and learn. He was a 2-time state champion at Fayetteville.
And he backed up his brother there.
Exactly. And so he has learned so much. He knows this system probably better than anybody who's never really played much.
Agree.
Yeah.
I agree with your assessment of the fans.
Yes.
Last year we had out-of-state fans of other schools that thought more of our quarterback at one point than our fans did. He's a quarterback. All quarterbacks good. They're going to get. If we win, he's okay. If we lose, it's his fault. Unfortunately, that's the way most fans are. I think people have got to understand he's going to probably be running for his life some, and he's never really experienced how good the cornerback. That's an NFL defensive backfield at Alabama, LSU, Texas A&M. He's going in, and it's going to be a learning curve. It's going to take a little while.
You know, the difference between Brandon Allen and Austin Allen is that Brandon Allen had a great experienced offensive line who led the nation in the least amount of sacks.
Cover of the press guide.
I think it will be different this year, and that's a disadvantage for Austin Allen.
Well, and the good part, I think he's a little bit more mobile than his brother.
And how about this, the importance of the first few weeks? College is the only game. High school, you get benefit games. NFL, you get exhibition games. College, this is it. You haven't played against anyone but yourselves. What do you want to learn in those first few weeks?
Well, I think what happened last year, remember the disaster we had last year. I think Brett Bielema probably has reevaluated his whole outlook and approach during these 2 days preseason package, because he knows he can't come out of the gate like he did last year and start at 1-3. So I think they're going to be much better. Of course, we'll find out how good we are against TCU and Fort Worth.
I mean, I said this earlier last spring. I'm still sticking to it. The defense has got to make sure that they give the offense a short field. They got to keep them in the ball game. They can't have this young offense playing catch-up football in the third and fourth quarter against TCU's where all of a sudden we have to get away from the running game. We got to start throwing it every down, trying to get back in.
Year 4, wanting more. Will we get more? Later in the show, we'll put these guys on the spot. Baz and Bruce, much more later in the show.
All right, Sully, thanks very much. Another break right now, but when we come back, he's not just the head football coach at Louisiana Tech, he is the son of an Arkansas coaching legend. Our one-on-one with head coach Skip Holtz when we come back. And a live look at the Greek Theater here on the campus of the University of Arkansas. Pep rally set to kick off about a half hour from now. They're calling the Hogs here in Fayetteville.
The University of Arkansas is annually among the game's elite. This tradition of excellence can be traced to Lou Holtz, whose players are taught that victory begins when you believe in yourself.
Well, tomorrow afternoon, another Holtz will be patrolling the sideline at Razorback Stadium. It won't be Lou Holtz, though, Baz. It'll be Skip Holtz.
Yeah, I remember Skip as a young man when I was playing here. It's hard to believe watching historical tape realizing I played then. Yeah, he's a good young man, a sharp guy. He's very likable, and he's done a good job as a coach.
18 wins in 2 years at Louisiana Tech.
And not bad. You know, he had a couple different stints, one at ECU, one at South Florida. Now back a little bit closer to his boyhood home of Fayetteville. He said years ago, whenever he was at ECU and they played Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl, he still has a lot of friends up here in Fayetteville from high school, and so I know how much he's looking forward to getting back up here because the last time they played, they were in Memphis in the Liberty Bowl, now back at his hometown.
Yeah, it's going to be a big day tomorrow. Let's see, our Kyle Deckelbaum traveled to Ruston to catch up with Skip Holtz to talk about this game and his legendary father.
Guys, this will be Skip Holtz's 4th year here at Louisiana Tech. Of course, he's moved all around the country. That's the nature of being in a coaching family. But he spent his teenage years in Fayetteville, and it clearly has a very special place in his heart.
Some great years, some great memories, great years, great people I still stay in touch with back in Fayetteville, and haven't really been back in that stadium since the early 80s when I was running around on the sideline as a little kid.
From the 28-yard line, Scanlon, pitching to Anderson, he's got room.
I remember a lot of great games that we played there in Fayetteville, the 17-14 game against Texas, and I mean, a lot of great memories from back then. But those are my childhood memories.
As quarterback at Fayetteville, you got to have some pretty good memories there.
I do. I mean, I wasn't very good. I mean, there are a lot of people a lot better than I was, but I did have great memories and still stay in touch with coaches, still stay in touch with a lot of people that I went to school with back then. Just like I said, a lot of great memories growing up in Fayetteville.
Give me an R. Give me an R. 32.
I don't know if you would realize it then, but you might now. I mean, how much of playing quarterback at Fayetteville High and following your dad around on the sidelines and being so ingrained in the Razorback program made you want to do what you do today?
Well, I grew up around this game. You know, I grew up, they were my idols when I was at Arkansas. When you start talking about the Ron Calcagnes and, you know what I mean, the guys during that area, and the Kevin Scanlons and Tom Jones and some of the quarterbacks that were there during those days, they were my idols.
We're here to put on a show, not to be scared, not to be nervous when we go out there, but to go out there and be able to perform and say, hey, you're going to see one of the great football teams in the country.
Your dad, need we say, is known for, he's a little quirky.
Lou is down there, lost in the middle of this. There he is. He's in there yelling and hollering to leave it alone. We need it.
He's got his sort of, his Louisms a little bit, right?
As a matter of fact, I sort of feel like the vulture. You see the sign so many times, sitting on a limb. And he says, patience my foot, I'm going to kill somebody.
How much of that do we see in you?
I don't know. That is unbelievably quick-witted. I mean, he can throw out his one-liners, and he is incredibly quick-witted. You know, I don't know how much of him is in me. I'm not trying to be Lou Holtz. I'm trying to be the best Skip Holtz I can be, but obviously for somebody that raised me at home for 18 years, and I had the opportunity to coach with at Notre Dame and South Carolina for 10 years as an assistant coach underneath them, there's no doubt a lot of what I do, I learned from him. I mean, without a doubt. So everybody has a little bit of their father in them. You know what I mean? Whether we want to or not, we all have a little bit of our father in them. I hope I took some of those traits, but I definitely hope I took my mom's traits, because she is an absolute saint.
You're kidding me! You're kidding me!
And perfect timing here that on the eve of him being able to watch his son play a school that he previously coached at, he's going to go into the Razorback Hall of Honor.
No, how awesome is that? I think what a great honor. And I mean, I told him, I said, you know, I think it'll be great for me that he's going to have a chance to be there, but I think it's great that he is having the opportunity to get this honor. I mean, when you look at the success that he had at Arkansas and what they did there and the great seasons they had there, the great years and what they did over that tenure, over that 7-year tenure, I think it's awesome that the people of Arkansas are acknowledging the things that they were able to accomplish there. And he definitely deserves every moment in the sun he's going to get on Saturday.
So, boy, the emotions that you mentioned just for you of walking into the stadium where you spent so much of your teenage years, on top of that,
right,
having your dad there,
yep,
you said doesn't get to see your team play very much.
Right.
I mean, that's got to really hit home.
It's emotional to go back because it's a neat little thing to go back and relive childhood. It's kind of like when you go back home and you haven't been there in a while. It's a neat experience to go back and to see a lot of people you hadn't seen in a long time and have that opportunity to have the experience. But it's still about when they put the ball on the tee. It's still about when they put the ball on the tee and trying to get this football team ready to go into that environment and compete. And it's going to be a great challenge for us. But I think, you know, it'll be sentimental walking up to it. But when they put the ball on the tee, it's all about the game.
And to add to the emotion tomorrow, some of his players will be feeling emotions of their own. Some of the guys, he says, are from southern Louisiana, where the floods really hit these past couple of weeks, and a couple of his guys lost everything they own. So you know they'll be playing with heavy hearts at kickoff tomorrow. Back to you in Fayetteville.
Indeed. All right, Cal Deckelbaum, thanks so much. The Holt's name is really football royalty in Arkansas.
No question. And, you know, he was here for about 7 years and certainly didn't end, I think, quite the way that they wanted to, but he had some great moments. So when you talk about that Oklahoma game, that still lives in Razorback lore. Sending home your 3 best players the night before, one of the biggest games in program history at the time, and still being able to win and win the way they did. And David has always talked about, too, some of those speeches he would give in the pregame.
Well, it's got to be tough for Skip Holtz. He's not his dad. And to be in the shadow, you'll never equal the great Hall of Famer Lou Holtz. And so I salute the guy for trying, but you know that's got to be always lurking over him, people comparing him to Lou.
We'll always be grateful to Lou Holtz for bringing this guy
yes.
from Florida to Arkansas.
Very grateful Lou brought me here.
No doubt about that. But when we come back, we'll be joined by Danny West from hogsports.com. We'll talk about recruiting and the players from this past year's class who might contribute this year. That and much more when Year 4, Wanting More, continues from the Hill. How far out?
Hey, welcome back, everybody, into Fayetteville. Year 4, Wanting More, a Razorback special. We are so pumped for tomorrow's game, which is going to be taking place just about a half a mile to the west of us. Joined now by Danny West of hogsports.com. Talking to Danny about recruiting. Danny covers the recruiting world and everything that goes in and out of it. It's a vast world, David. I know you guys touch on the buzz all the time and how complicated it can be. So Danny's joining us this evening to kind of break down why kids are picking Arkansas, who's going to impact this year. Danny, let's first start with Arkansas, the program itself. Yeah. When you talk with these kids, and you talk to how many about on average a week?
Probably somewhere around 20, 25 a week.
20 to 25 kids a week,
like
that they're being recruited by this coaching staff. What exactly stands out to you about what they're saying, about what Arkansas maybe is doing right to get them here on the Hill?
Well, I think first of all it starts with the coaching staff. And, obviously Brett Bielema has done a good job of selling what he's building here. And it's been a slow process at times, but he's getting there. He's got wins now that he can point to and say, we're going a certain place, and kids buy into that. So I think it starts with the coaches. They're really good at developing relationships, not only with the kid, but the kid's family and whatnot, and coaches that he talks to. But and secondly, Fayetteville's got a lot to offer here. The University of Arkansas, which, everyone's got facilities now, everyone's got the fancy uniforms, but Fayetteville, the surrounding area, there's a lot to sell here, so they've capitalized on that so far.
Danny, I think it makes a difference when you're talking about 5 stars versus 4 stars, 3 stars.
Sure.
All those 5-star guys, they want to know, where can I get to the NFL quickest? Where can I play for a national championship? And there's a small number of 5 stars. After that, I think you can start competing on those other elements, and that's why a good fit. If it's a good fit, hey, I fit that system. I'm the right size for that system. But I think you're right. Starts with the coaching staff, starts with the head coach, no doubt about it.
Yeah, style of play does come into play quite a bit with Bielema, especially at the tight end position, offensive line. You've seen running back. Yeah. You've seen the success he's had there, putting those guys into the NFL. So I think that does play a big role. You're right.
Let's talk about kids who are coming on campus. There's certainly been some misses here in the recruiting where they get hyped up. We talk about them on the radio, some local, some national, some 5-star, 4-star guys, and they end up choosing elsewhere, even though Arkansas is in that top 2 or top 3. Why aren't kids coming here? What are you being told by some of the kids who are going elsewhere in other SEC schools? What do they point to that maybe Arkansas can improve on?
Well, I think the certain aspect of 8 wins being looked at as a step forward is probably a problem right now. When you get to the point to where 8 wins is a step backwards, that's when you found success. If you know what I'm getting at. 10 wins, 11 wins, you can't just have one of those in a row. 2 of those in a row. You really need to maintain that success over a span of several years. I don't know the exact number, but kids want to see that you've built it over a long period of time, and then they start to buy into what you're selling.
Also love the fact that if you look on paper, LSU and Ole Miss, if you look at stars, we shouldn't even be able to be on the same field. We've beaten both of those 2 years in a row. Yeah. Brett Bielema develops his players well, and I think he should be, obviously complimented for that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You hear NFL coaches come in here all the time, and they always praise the developmental aspect of what he's done here with, like you said, so many 3-star kids, underdeveloped, underrated type kids by the experts,
Yeah.
But he's done a good job with that and still doing that in this year's class.
All right, real quick, give me the top 3 contributors, freshmen incoming, that we're going to hear their names called a lot on Saturday.
I think it starts with McTelvin Agim. Obviously, we've talked about him for 2 years now. He's really on a different level in terms of athleticism, power, quickness, everything you look for in that type of player. Austin Capps would be another one.
Star City.
Star City, Arkansas. He was probably one of the surprises in the class. Yeah. He comes in super strong. I'm sure you guys have seen the video this summer.
Yeah.
And then Devwa Whaley. You take one look at the kid, and obviously he's everything you want in a running back. For this system, he's going to be really good.
Hogsports.com is the place to go for all the recruiting, all the camp, and, of course, all the updates throughout the season. Danny West, thank you so much for coming on with us this evening. Appreciate it. We'll see you at the game tomorrow. All right, when we come back after this, more of this guy, David Basil, and, of course, his partner in crime, Bruce James, as they give you their predictions for the season. Stay tuned. This is Year 4, Wanting More, right here on Channel 7.
Welcome back to Year 4, Wanting More, live from Fayetteville. And let's check back in now with Steve Sullivan, Bruce James, and David Basil.
All right, guys, they say the NFL is a head coach quarterback league. If you use Alabama as the model in college ball, you'd have to say it was a head coach, Nick Saban, in a defensive line league. You look at Arkansas this season, and the strength of this team, outside of receivers, you'd have to say it'd be the talent and depth on the defensive line.
You have some exceptions to that rule. You look at a Cam Newton or a Johnny Manziel, but you don't get those most of the time. But I thought the most telling thing we saw in the offseason was Kirby Smart. When he became the head coach at Georgia, they asked him, where's this league won? And he says, for me, it's no question, because he's coaching for the last 10, 11 years. It's defensive linemen. They dominate the line of scrimmage. That's what separates the SEC, I think, from every other conference, is big, mobile.
Bruce is liking this discussion.
Big, mobile defensive linemen. And you're right, for the first time now, Brett Bielema is too deep. And there are a lot of expectations of this defensive line, but he's got some depth for the first time.
Right,
really
he does.
Good players.
But they're going to have to play a lot better than they did last year, and I think they will. I mean, technique-wise, they didn't get off the ball. They did not get a pass rush to the very end of the season, and they're going, when they're playing against these wide-open offenses, they got to make the quarterback throw the ball on rhythm and not let him stand back there.
We start spreading us out, have to tackle in space, and we struggled last year.
Right.
Any great defense has its stars. Who's going to step up? Is it going to be Dietrich Wise on the line? Is it going to be Dre Greenlaw? Is it going to be Josh Liddell? Who do you see taking that step to the next level this year?
The secondary was so bad last year. They have nowhere to go but up, and I think Paul Rhodes is going to have a big impact. So I think improved secondary play will be there.
Well,
Dietrich Wise is a guy that I've liked since the first day I saw him. He's got an NFL body, long arms. I think if he can come out and play, have his head right, I think he can be a very big impact player.
You just took it out of my mouth again. I mean, when I saw him the very first time, he is as quick off the ball as anybody's ever played at Arkansas. Sometimes he takes plays off. As you say, his long arms, he uses his arms and his hands very well in his pass rush. He gets the control of the offensive tackle, and he moves him, and he has a good lateral step. But sometimes, you know, if he comes to play and he understands that he can make a lot of money going into the pros and has a great year, he's as good as anybody in the league as far as raw talent.
I'll tell you two other names. Ledbetter, who's a guy who reminds me a little bit of Darius Philon. Maybe he can have that impact in the middle of that defensive line. And I think Dre Greenlaw, you know, everybody bragged on Dre Greenlaw last year, but as a linebacker, half the place he was out of position.
Yeah, that was a guy who'd never played linebacker.
And that's right. So I was thinking, this guy is, you know, he makes a great play. Then I'm like, they're bragging on him, but once he gets his hands on you, he's going to bring you down. Right. So he's a great tackler. He'll be much improved because he knows the defense better.
Can you put a number and say, right now, 7 wins, that was a successful season? What is a successful season year 4 for Bret Bielema?
I think he has to hit with a bowl win. I think he has to hit 8.
And I agree with that. You know, he's got to win. He's got to win 7 in a bowl game and to meet expectations. I think that, I mean, maybe he wins 9, maybe he wins 6, and it's all going to come in there. But David is right and correct. I would go with 8. And that's including a bowl victory.
All right, gentlemen, year 4, wanting more. Year 17.
Year 17.
Can you complete the...
No, I can't. Listen, I got too many hits to the head to be able to make something rhyme that quick, Sully.
I want to thank you guys. Hopefully it's going to be another memorable year for the Hogs. Back to you guys.
All right, Sully, thanks so much. When we come back, more of Sully's Sit Down with head coach Bret Bielema. He's become a bit of a reality star of late. They'll talk about life off the football field and the pep rally here in Fayetteville. Just a few minutes from getting started in earnest, but they're already having a party. Year 4, wanting more, continues right after this.
I came in and talked to the team the other day, and I said, I have an addiction. The addiction is a mental mindset. It's a positive mental mindset. I come in every day with a positive attitude. It's a term I call juice, and everybody now is infected with juice. So we go into practice, and everyone's saying, juice, juice, juice. And it's awesome because everybody's tempo's up, everybody's smiling, everybody's having a good time, and practices are turning out great for us.
Okay, so the juice. Nothing wrong with the juice.
You know, every team, I had them too, had guys that were a little quirky but
right.
very confident.
Yeah.
And as long as he catches 10 touchdown passes during the SEC like he did last year, he can say what he wants to say.
Quirky and confident, I think, describes Drew Morgan.
Confident isn't the right word. Whatever confident is times 10, I think, is the word that you can find to describe Drew Morgan. He's been that way his whole life.
Still no respect by everybody around the league. Going into this year, you don't hear him mentioned as a preseason All-SEC guy.
You talk about a guy who really did come through the program and was developed. He came out of high school pretty touted. He got a couple offers around the state. He was our Landers Award winner a couple of years ago, and it took him a while to catch on here in Fayetteville, and then once he did, he's taken off.
Well, the man who developed him was the head coach, Bret Bielema, who sat down with our sports director, Steve Sullivan. Here's the second part of their conversation.
All right, some fun stuff now.
Yeah.
Okay, the Olympics just completed. If you had a 4x100 relay team in pads.
In pads?
In pads, and it's the SEC Olympics. And you have to line up 4 guys. Who are your 4 going to be, and who's going to run that anchor leg?
Is it based on time still?
Oh, it's based on speed. Who gets, you know, it's 4x100.
Well, we probably have Dominic Reed, Drew Morgan, probably a newcomer, Deion Stewart, who's looked pretty good, and Jordan Jones on my current roster.
Now, who would you have carry that Arkansas flag into the arena?
Who do I have carry the Arkansas flag?
Guy best represents the program.
Probably have a lot of guys that want to be in that position, but as a group of seniors, it'd be hard to decide between probably Dan Skipper and Brooks Ellis. Brooks, he's from Fayetteville, so I think that probably went out. Jeremy Sprinkle takes a lot of pride. I remember one of the traditions that we started a year ago is we started having on every game we carry out the Arkansas flag and the U.S. flag. So we always try to have an Arkansas kid carry the Arkansas flag. And it's fun to see the reaction that we get from those kids when we ask them to do it, because some of them we think that they think it may be a little corny, but there's a battle for it. Drew Morgan, he'd fight you to death to it too. He's pretty proud of his upbringing.
And Jen may hook you into watching The Bachelor.
Oh man! Yeah.
Who's the one guy, the player on the team? The guy would be the best bachelor. Who would want to be in that spot?
Probably Santos Ramirez. The reason I say that is Santos is very clean. He's always, he looks good, very well dressed. And him and Andre, 2 Louisiana guys, I'd say that. I do think, though, that, you know, I actually have a player, Sean Lowe was a former player of mine, who was actually the Bachelor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My wife and I were in Hawaii on our honeymoon, and I came in, and I've really done a really good job of acting like I'm watching The Bachelor, but not really being there. I'll just kind of walk in and kind of get out. But she was watching. I'm like, why is Sean Lowe on TV? She's like, how do you know him? I'm like, he played for me at Kansas State.
You had your hookup there.
Yeah, we called him on the phone. It was kind of funny, so it's been fun.
And finally, we're in the political season. If you had to pick two guys, who'd be your presidential candidate and who'd be the vice presidential guy running?
You know, I would go with, just because GPA is a good indicator, someone you want to have in the office. So Jared Collins would be up there, I would think. Him and Brooksy would probably be a good tandem. Two defensive guys that both 3.7, 3.8, 3.9 GPAs. They want to be doctors and all kinds of successful stuff. I'd probably go with them.
And finally, I wouldn't be much of a reporter if I didn't point out your shoes today.
I think a gift from the wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, off the rack at Nordstrom's, I believe.
It just proves you, one thing I admire about you, regardless of how tired you are, you try to enjoy the moment. Whether it be this press conference, the one next door, or the meeting coming up later.
Well, if I came in mad or upset or didn't have a good attitude, then I'd probably portray that pretty well. So even like our kids, you know, sometimes they don't really want to maybe go out and do the media. They don't want to do an event or, you know, go out and be a part of something. But if you drag your feet and hate it, you're going to definitely show that. And hopefully we've done a better job of representing that. And I enjoy coming over here. It's always a great crowd and good people.
All right, appreciate it, Coach.
Thanks,
always a lot of fun.
Good to see you, brother.
Yeah.
Wow, whatever happens with wins and losses, there will never be a boring moment at Arkansas as long as Brett Bielema's in charge.
I like how we were able to ask him some fun questions in there. 4x100, the next Bachelor. I think we have a great candidate for the next Bachelor right here on set with us.
Hey.
Just my opinion. David Basil sitting over there might be even better candidate.
It's so fun to follow him. I mean, I just really think it's he just an interesting personality. The Being Brett Bielema segments, the last two shows, y'all, are excellent. I mean, they really peek into the background of who he is and how he became the man he is.
And look, a great football coach, too. Let's not forget that. We're going to take one more break. We'll come back with our wrap-up and predictions here on Year 4 Wanting More. And one more look at the Chi Omega Greek Theater. The Rage Sticks are waving. The pep rally about to get underway as they're calling the Hogs in favor. Back live in Fayetteville now, Year 4 Wanting More. You're looking at the Chi Omega Greek Theater. Pep rally about to get underway, but that party looks like it started a long time ago. We are across the street, and we're joined by someone who's going to the pep rally.
It's football season. What are you doing, man? You got a few more months.
You guys just leave a microphone out here on the ground. I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to talk to you.
Anybody can come join us. It's Pat Bradley, of course, from 103.7 The Buzz, the Razorback Sharpshooter. Great to see you.
Glad to see you guys.
All-state quarterback, maybe? High school football?
Actually, yeah, freshman year, though. I did run the ride. Yeah, I know a bunch of touchdowns.
All right.
20 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Oh,
I had most of my classes here in Kimball Hall, believe it or not.
Yes, you went to class.
One of the few times. Only Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Well, because of your history as a quarterback, we're going to tap your expertise in football. Okay. What are you expecting from these Razorbacks as this 2016 season kicks off?
It's going to be exciting, and I think Austin Allen is going to have the opportunity to show a lot of people what insiders have known for a long time is that he's very confident. Okay, we're going to see that, and I love my man Drew Morgan's confident, but he is going to show everybody what they're going to do. I'm going to say 9 wins and a bowl game, probably in Memphis again, unfortunately.
I'm saying 7. I'll be the bad guy.
7 total?
Yeah.
I go 8 with a bowl win, 8-5 altogether.
Okay. I'm going to say it's going to be exciting.
Oh, you would.
That's it for Year 4 Wanting More. Kickoff tomorrow, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Reynolds Razorback Stadium. Thanks for being with us tonight. We'll see you back here at 10 o'clock for Channel 7. Good night.